Welcome to For the District, the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for JMCSS. This morning, we'll visit with JMCSS School Board Vice Chairwoman Debbie Gaugh, and we'll also visit with a star student from Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. We'll tell you who that is in a moment, but first, if you're new to the JMCSS podcast, this episode and previous shows can be viewed right now on our YouTube channel, or you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and radio731.com. Vice Chairwoman Debbie Gaugh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, would you please introduce us to our other guests?
Yes, we have a student here from our JASA school, and he is a senior, and he's none other than my grandson, my oldest grandson, Elisha Gaugh.
Now, this is cool. This is a first. This is the first time on the podcast we've had a grandson and a grandparent, so we're making history. So that's cool. Welcome to the podcast, Elisha.
Thank you, Greg. Glad to be here.
So Elisha is one of the students we interviewed when we produced our school spotlight on Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. So I kind of feel like I already know him. So this will make the podcast that much easier and enjoyable. So Debbie, I'm going to start with really the first question I ask most of my guests.
Okay.
Did you always know you wanted to work in education?
No, I did not. I certainly never thought or planned on being in politics.
But you are. Yeah, you got a campaign.
But I was forced. Yeah, forced to be in a campaign, and have already completed my first term and thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad I did. Yeah. Although there was minutes right there on early, like the first meeting with Dr. King, when he gave me a book that looked like it was 4 inches thick on our upcoming meeting. I was like, oh my God, what have I got into? Yeah. Because it's like, but in all fairness, I have enjoyed it. I think we've made a difference. I think our school system is rising like a shining star at this point, and we've got more to do. Yeah. And I can't wait.
So, and I don't think the general public can fully appreciate the education component that's attached to being a board member. There's professional development involved. You all have to read up on policy. So it's more than just winning an election.
Absolutely. It's a whole lot more. It's even more than I thought it was going to be. You're right. There's all kind of aspects that we have to get involved in, but luckily there's all kind of training, so we don't feel like we're all alone. Yeah. We have several that we can call when we, like, our attorney, one of the first things he told me was that his job was to keep me out of the ditch.
Yeah.
And my reply was, I hope they pay you well.
Debbie Gaugh is Vice Chairwoman of the JMCSS School Board, and we're also joined by her grandson, a star student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. And I'm not just throwing that term around, star student. Elisha is very much a star student. Again, last year when we produced the video about Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with JASA or Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, it is the virtual school for Jackson Madison County Schools. It very much has a homeschool type feel, but it allows students to have all the supports of the Jackson Madison County school system. So, Elisha, you are a star student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, but I recently learned, because this did not come up in the original interview several months ago, that you're a member of Madison County 4-H.
Yes, sir, I am.
So you're a little bit of a legacy, because after speaking with Debbie, I found out your father was also in 4-H.
That's correct, yes, and I value that legacy.
So for folks who may not be familiar necessarily with 4-H, how would you describe 4-H and what type of projects do you all participate in?
Well, speaking in the broadest terms, it is a youth development organization, of course. A wide variety of projects that we offer, a variety of competitions, clubs, meetings that are designed to promote youth interests and skill sets within these particular projects that we offer. Several different things. Traditionally, it was agricultural based, of course, but as the organization has grown and grown over the past several years, we've come to incorporate engineering elements, STEAM elements, public speaking elements, just general citizenship, leadership. So yes, all in all, it is a very extensive organization. Definitely a lot to offer the youth of today, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Elisha was a winner of the prestigious Vol State Award during the Tennessee 4-H Roundup, and you also participated or served on the Western Region 4-H All-Star High Council.
That's correct.
And you took first place in, and this won't be a surprise, public speaking.
Yes, sir.
And so earning a trip to 4-H Congress.
Yes, sir.
Now, students in the Jackson-Madison County school system have a lot of choices when you think about extracurricular activities, you think about sports. You are solidly committed to 4-H.
That's correct.
So even realizing from K-12, we have more than 100 clubs and activities for students. I want you to make a sale for 4-H because, again, our middle school students or elementary students, they have a lot of choices. So if you were going to sell 4-H, how would you sell 4-H to let students know that's one of the best opportunities for them?
Well, if I were to sell 4-H, the first word that comes to mind that I'd like to throw out is, and I touched on this earlier, just the general sense of variety. There are several different platforms from which to operate, several different projects, contest opportunities, club opportunities. I just happen to think, and I've been involved in 4-H, I've been involved in FFA, I've been involved in Beta Club, and I don't think, not to cast shade on any other extracurricular organization, because I believe that we do all have our specialties. But I've just consistently appreciated all that can be done in 4-H, whether it's specializing in a particular skill, agriculture, STEAM, public speaking, gaining those soft skills in leadership and citizenship, engaging in officer positions at the state, at the local level. Like you just mentioned, I was on the All-Star Council, which is the All-Stars being the service-oriented wing of the Tennessee 4-H program, divided amongst the three regions, Western, Central, and Eastern. And so I would just encourage anyone who's interested in getting involved in these extracurriculars just to look into 4-H and find your niche, essentially. That's what it all comes back to. Personalizing it for yourself, being introspective, looking at yourself, what your interests, what your values are, and then going into 4-H with that particular mindset. More than likely, you'll find something that's right for you.
Elisha Gaugh is a star student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, and you can see why. We're also joined by his grandmother, Vice Chairwoman for the JMCSS School Board, Debbie Gaugh. And so we're having a great conversation, not only about school board work, but also about Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. Debbie, I know you're a fan of 4-H.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about why in a moment, because your experience with 4-H goes back further than Elisha's, so we'll get into that. We'll also get into Green Power. It's essentially engineering and mechatronics for our students at the middle and high school level. We're going to get into all of that, but I am getting the notification from our producer that it is time to take a commercial break. So before we take this commercial break, I have to remind West Tennessee residents who are interested in job opportunities in education or operational support are encouraged to visit jmcss.org/jobs this month to explore career opportunities with Jackson-Madison County Schools. This is For the District, the podcast for JMCSS. We'll be right back with more of this podcast on JJ 97.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, guess what? We get to pick our clubs tomorrow at school. What should I pick?
What about picking 4-H?
That sounds like fun. fun, but maybe I'll pick choir club or STEM club or nursing club or photography club.
You could say my kids are excited over all the options and opportunities offered by Madison County Schools. Our public schools offer more than 100 different clubs and activities for students.
Wait, I know. Ukulele club.
Oh boy, maybe let's stick to art or debate.
For options and opportunities, tuition free, choose Madison County Schools.
Welcome back to For the District. It's the podcast for Madison County Schools. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for JMCSS. This morning, we're visiting with JMCSS School Board Vice Chairwoman Debbie Gaugh. And we also have a star student from Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, her grandson, Elisha Gaugh. He is not only a student at JASA, Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, he's also a member of the Madison County 4-H, and he's received several awards for his activities in 4-H. So congratulations. Now, if you missed the first half of this episode, we do want to encourage you, go to radio731.com or Apple Podcasts to check out the first part of this episode. And so Debbie, Elisha was telling us about his activities in 4-H. However, he is not the first Gaugh to be involved in 4-H. It goes further back than that.
It does.
Tell us about it.
It goes back at least to me. And I know that my husband's mother was in it.
Wow.
So that goes back 3 generations. And I was at Beach Bluff. I went to Beach Bluff all my life and was in 4-H. I love photography, bread baking, sewing, everything except for public speaking.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that wasn't.
No one gave you that push.
No, I didn't get that push.
Okay.
Because I was scared to death to get up in front of everyone and talk. It just never come natural to me, and I just didn't enjoy it, and never did.
But life is funny because now you're out.
I know.
And leadership.
I know. And I wish they had made me back then. It'd have made it a lot easier on me now. But I did enjoy 4-H and did pretty good. And so when Glenn and Robert came along,
Your sons.
my sons, they joined 4-H, and they was like I was. They loved the horses, the cows. They started with chickens, and loved that. And so I wanted them to do public speaking, and then Glenn went along with it, but wasn't his favorite. And then when Robert got old enough to join, I told him, I said, look, you're going to have to do public speaking. So if I can haul around cows and boys and horses, and you can do this one thing. So they did, and both got pretty good at it. Robert wanted to one year wanted to be a little rebellious, so he thought he would just kind of, dish on 4-H a little. And at the end of his speech, he said to sum up 4-H, he had been cow kicked, horse thrown, chicken pecked, and I wish I could think of two or three others. And so he thought he was really just being rebellious, and he won first place.
Wow.
And had to give his speech again.
He thought he was showing you.
He thought he was, but yeah. So that was pretty funny.
Now,
yeah.
Elisha, you don't mind the public speaking. You're actually good at it and have earned several awards in 4-H.
Yes, sir. Not where. Sorry. Yeah, it's very exciting for me. I enjoy it.
Yeah. And so, Debbie, I was asking, you're on your second term.
I am.
But I joined the central office staff in 2020, not long after I met you. And one of the things I learned about you was the fact that you were a beekeeper.
I am.
And that's kind of a fun fact.
It is. Yeah.
Is this something you grew up doing?
No, no. I grew up at home. We raised gardens, big gardens, and actually had cotton fields all around us. So I did my share of picking cotton, riding in a cotton wagon. So, but no, not until I got married. Okay. And then we had one of our second home was we had like 15 acres fenced in. So we, before that we started with goats, dairy goats because Glenn was allergic to milk and formula. He couldn't drink any formula. So the doctor back then says, well, he says, best thing you can do is buy a goat and milk it for him.
Wow. And your 4-H experience prepared you for that.
It prepared me for it. We got the goat and started milking her. And then we had horses, and then as the boys come along, we had cows, which they showed in 4-H and FFA, all hit every fair in West Tennessee.
Debbie, I want to ask you something, and you're making me think about the barn at Liberty.
Yes.
Okay, and so I would imagine your sons learned some great character traits and responsibilities
Yes.
working on the farm.
Correct.
Does it make you excited to know there are kids in this generation, even kids who live in the city, but they get to attend Liberty High School and participate in agriculture? And there's a barn at Liberty. I guess it's 2 years old now. There's cattle. I think there's a horse. They're raising chickens. What does it mean to you to see today's students get a piece of the education you learned on the farm and that education you gave your children?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. I think they will learn a whole lot by having to take care of those animals and see to it they're fed and watered. They learn to watch them to see if there's anything wrong with them. Is their eyes, are they limping? And then they have to doctor them, take care of them. And so, yes, they learn a whole lot.
And so I know they learn about the science and the biology of an animal, but thinking about soft skills, and Elijah, you can jump in this as well because I know you help on your grandmother's farm.
Yes.
These soft skills that students learn when they get to work with animals like they do at Liberty Technology High
Like
School.
the hard work and the characteristics, work ethics and stuff like that. Yeah, they learn all of that. Yeah, they learn that that's not just a 9-to-5 job.
Okay.
And it's not something you do if you feel like it. It's got to be done every day.
Yeah. Elisha, what has your experience been like working on the farm?
Well, of course, with this being with the family, I've been on there practically my whole life. Engaged in several different activities as a part of my farm duties, taking care of horses, occasionally helping out with bees, working in the garden with picking corn. And I'm, just to sum it up, I'm just really proud of what I've done as a member of the family helping out with the farm, and I completely relate to what my grandmother has said about the work ethic and the responsibility and really just the general sense of productivity that one feels when they get out there, strap on their boots, go out there, go through the mud and get something done.
So what's cool is not every child can grow up on a farm.
Right.
But you have programs in the Jackson-Madison County school system.
Absolutely.
Whether it's 4-H throughout the county, the Crusader cuts at Liberty High School where the students learn to cut and groom your dogs. I don't know if they do cats. Cats are very particular.
I don't think so. I think dogs is better.
Yeah, but then the students in the ag program get to work around the cattle and the horses, the goats and the chickens, and learn these character traits like you're talking about.
Right.
Hard work and dedication, and I think some of the old-time coaches might use the term stick-to-itiveness.
There you go.
Learning that in a number of different avenues in the Jackson-Madison County school system. And so I was thinking Elisha was in Green Power because I remember seeing you and your family at the Toyota Grand Prix at Rockabilly Stadium when we had our big Green Power racing event. But I learned it wasn't Elisha, it was his little brother.
It was Jesse.
This. So both of you kind of chime in here. Talk about Green Power, thinking about back on that event at Rockabilly Stadium, how cool it was to see our middle school teams represented in a racing format, but each student on the team had a different role. And they spent months building the car, figuring out the number of laps they could get done and getting the batteries charged. And there was some presentation aspect to Green Power. So switching gears from 4-H to Green Power, what have you all seen through that particular program that your other grandson has enjoyed?
Well, I got to be there 2 or 3 evenings when they were putting the card together.
Yeah.
And it was, they learn a lot. Let's just put it that way. Some of them had no idea how to connect a battery.
Right.
Or they had to put the tires on, and it was a learning process
Yes.
for probably for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they worked really hard at it, and trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember the first time they took it out in the parking lot to try it out. First time they drove it, and one little boy run into a trailer with it, and it was like, oh no, the car.
It's trial and error.
And it was like, oh no, is the kid okay?
Yeah. They've had a lot of fun through the Green Power Initiative, and all of our middle schools get to participate in it. And really, when you visit with the students and you talk to the teachers, when you scale it all back, it's really pre-engineering for a lot of the kids.
It is,
Definitely.
but they don't know that.
Right, you sneak in the education.
They don't know that they're learning.
Right.
And they're learning valuable things,
Yeah.
and that's just fun to them. So, I mean, that's the way to learn right there.
And then you bring up something valuable too, students using tools for the first time.
Yeah.
Because again, unless you grow up under a parent who's involved in
Right.
that, that's not something you get to enjoy or look at.
A lot of us take it as second nature, and it's just not that case, you know, especially with a lot of kids. They don't have that around anymore. So, but yeah, and then the excitement, it was so exciting to see them race it. So, yeah.
Definitely. I could definitely relate to the last thing you said, especially as an older brother. I was extremely proud, taking it on a more personal level, extremely proud to see my little brother just find something that he was interested in, that he related to, that he did very well in the words of his coach. As an older brother who's just generally involved in a lot of activities and isn't afraid to pursue them as far as my sense of confidence is concerned, it was just very heartwarming just to see that there were kids younger than me, youth that were younger than me. In this case, my brother, who finally found something that he enjoyed, that he developed a sense of teamwork in, that he could take a sense of leadership in.
We're visiting with JMCSS School Board Vice Chairwoman Debbie Gaugh and her grandson Elisha Gaugh, who is a star student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. We had the pleasure of meeting Elisha a few months ago when we produced a school spotlight for Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. Debbie, you're entering your second term now, and I would imagine throughout the year you see things that make you proud. I was going to talk about schools, but let me get to this question. For folks who don't know, your son Glenn is one of the newest board members, so you guys get to serve on the board together. Put into words what it felt like to see your son present a resolution during his first board meeting. So the board passed a resolution recognizing suicide prevention and suicide awareness, which is really meaningful stuff.
Right.
And when you read the resolution, which we shared on our social media channels, Facebook and Twitter, you can also go to jmcss.org and see that information. But as a fellow board member, but also as a mom, seeing that and knowing again, you encouraged him through 4-H and public speaking, kind of put into words what that whole moment was like.
It was very, very exciting for me. First of all, going through the long process of him, the race that he had to run, and making it, winning it, and then his very first meeting, he gets to present a suicide awareness. That was Suicide Awareness Week that we said, that we would recognize. Him standing up and reading it, and it was extremely emotional, to say the least. But I'm very proud, very proud.
The school board recognized September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And again, Debbie's son Glenn presented the resolution, and the board backed it unanimously, encouraging all residents to take the time. And really, when you think about it, it's kind of things we overlook. But it says taking the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriately. And when you boil it down, it's really about caring about people. The people in your circle, the people in your family, because those small efforts really go a long way.
Yes, they do.
So Glenn works in mental health.
He does.
Are you surprised at all, kind of to see where he is now?
That's not. Yes, I'm proud of him for being there. That's definitely not what that we thought he would go into.
Okay.
But so that was a little. Matter of fact, when he started college, it was to be a ag teacher. So he kind of changed midstream there. But yes, it's wonderful.
And Elisha, you're a senior?
Yes, sir.
So, and this is to the families and the seniors who may be listening out there. If you go back and listen to the majority of our podcasts, when we interview our principals, the superintendent even, check out the superintendent's podcast. The majority of our leaders started out in one occupation and matriculated or transitioned into education. So what your son did, moving from ag to mental health, really, when you think about it, not that surprising given his 4-H background. So he had that love for it, but then really found his real passion. So parents, grandparents, as your children, your nieces and nephews, your grandchildren prepare for life after high school, they don't have to have it all figured out now.
No.
Just getting started and applying for different jobs and different colleges. That's the first start. But they don't have to have it all figured out, because what we found out is many of your most successful leaders, not just in education, don't always know immediately what they want to get into.
Right.
When we return from our commercial break, do want to visit with Elisha a little bit more, because you're a senior.
Yes.
And there are other seniors out there, and I'm sure there are some steps you're taking to prepare for your future. And then we'll also finish our conversation with Madam Vice Chair. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Debbie Gaugh. We're visiting with them. This is episode 72 of the JMCSS podcast. Thumbs up, 72. Podcast number 72. So thank you for listening. We're not done. We've got one more segment left. You're listening to For the District. It is the podcast for Jackson, Madison County Schools, and we're sharing all the great information about our school system, about many of the clubs and activities students can participate in. As you've heard in this episode, Debbie participated in 4-H. Her children participated in 4-H. Her grandson is participating in 4-H, and he's also a student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. It is the virtual platform, the virtual school for students in the Jackson-Madison County school system. We've got more for the district after this break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the JMCSS podcast on JJ 97.7 FM.
Hey, guess what? We get to pick our clubs tomorrow at school. What should I pick?
But what about picking 4-H?
That sounds like fun, but maybe I'll pick choir club or STEM club or nursing club or photography club.
You could say my kids are excited over all the options and opportunities offered by Jackson Madison County Schools. Our public schools offer more than 100 different clubs and activities for students.
Wait, I know. Ukulele club.
Oh boy, maybe let's stick to art or debate.
For options and opportunities, tuition free, choose Jackson Madison County Schools.
Welcome back to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. This morning, we're visiting with JMCSS School Board Vice Chairwoman Debbie Gaugh and her grandson, Elisha Gaugh, who's a star student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy and a member of Madison County 4-H. Now, Debbie, before we get too far in the conversation, I do want to go back a little bit, because I was asking about your experience with beekeeping.
Yes.
And I don't know that I quite let you finish. I think I went somewhere else. But what was interesting is your introduction to beekeeping was actually through an interest in growing pumpkins.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, we love the fall stuff on the farm, and so we planted a pretty good sized pumpkin crop. and it failed due to the fact that it didn't get pollination.
Okay.
It didn't get pollinated.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. So I thought I'd just cure that little problem because I knew we had a beekeeper that lived not too far from us. So I went down there and graciously asked the man if he wanted to put some beehives out there. And to my shock and surprise, he said no,
Oh.
which hurt my feelings. And then he come right back with, but I'll teach you how to do it. He said, I'm getting kind of old, and somebody's got to carry on this legacy. And so I said, oh, no, not me and bees. I don't think so. Well, 2 or 3 weeks later, I go back, and I say, okay, if you're going to help me, then you can, then let's do this.
Yeah.
And that was probably 14, 15 years ago, Greg. I don't have any pumpkin patches, but I still have bees.
Yeah, and very active.
Very
in
active bees,
beekeeping.
yes.
So Debbie, bees are part of your hobby, but when you look back at your role on the school board, I think all school board members kind of have a lane in
Right.
a lane of interest. Yours is very much advocating for transportation,
Correct.
advocating for our support staff who work in school nutrition.
Yes.
Talk about how that became a passion for you.
Well, I drove a bus for 14 years for Jackson, Madison County
Thank
school
you.
system and enjoyed it. It was great, but at the time the boys had done got grown and gone, and I thought I'm going back to the farm and go back into my greenhouse. I raise plants and my bees, and I can stay busy on the farm and, and make a little money and enjoy life. And so I quit and went back there, which lasted a while. And but then the R&J Feeds wanted to know if I'd work a little there.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's right up my alley. So I did that. And so long story short, I loved driving the bus. I went back and drove it for 14 years. And when I got elected, they said, we need some help in the transportation department. And I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
I loved it. Let me have it. And so that's what I help with. And can I put a plug in? We need bus drivers. We need aides.
Say it again.
We need bus drivers. It's a wonderful job. And if you have kids that go to the school, I mean, come on, you work every day that they're at school, and that when they're off, you're off. It works out great for a mom. And aides and
What would you say to folks who may be intimidated by driving a
don't
large
be
vehicle?
intimidated. No. Well, they will train you and help you get your CDL license
That's
and
awesome.
pay you while you're training. So, and let me tell you, a CDL driver's license is something to have because you don't look for a job for too long
Right.
if you have your license. So come on down. Let us train you, put you to work. You'll get a route that you love. You'll get to know the kids. It's really a good job.
And again, a meaningful role.
A meaningful role.
I think about being a student of the school system coming out of South Jackson. Frida Oakley was my school bus driver.
I know
from
Frida. I drove with Frida.
first grade all the way to the day I graduated. And so really meaningful. And they not only become a part of the school staff, but they literally become a part of your family because
Yeah.
you see them every day.
They're the first person you see when you leave your house,
Yeah.
and then they're the last person you see when you get back home. And it's not a bad job. A lot of people like to say it's really rough. Let me tell you, once the kids get to know you and you know them, it's not that bad.
Also, it's cool under Superintendent Dr. Marlon King, every interval where you had teachers being taken care of as far as a raise or a bonus,
Yes, they
the support staff.
got a raise or a bonus also.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when you think about reasons to join the Jackson-Madison County school system, there you go. So West Tennessee residents, if you're interested in job opportunities and education or operational support,
Right.
like driving buses and food service, we do want to encourage you, visit jmcss.org/jobs this month to explore career opportunities with Jackson-Madison County Schools. And so, Debbie, I knew you were a beekeeper. I don't know that I knew you had been a bus driver. That's awesome.
I snuck that by you, didn't
That
I?
is awesome. and now she's in leadership with the Jackson-Madison County School Board. Elisha Gaugh is Debbie's grandson. He is a student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. And so I know several students this month are taking advantage of the free college application experience for several schools throughout Tennessee. Elisha, I know you have a different vision, a different goal. But what I think is cool, though, is your experience in 4-H has very much prepared you, combined with your experience with JASA, really for whatever the future holds.
Yes, definitely. As I mentioned earlier, I'm very proud of the role that I've had in 4-H and the extracurriculars in which I've participated. And just to elaborate on that point, like I was mentioning earlier, just developing a sense of introspectiveness, knowing your values, knowing what you want, and then taking whatever opportunities you have to get there. That's really what it's all about.
You have a passion for music?
Yes, sir.
How many instruments would you say you play?
Well, let's see. Guitar, bass, keys, drums, working on vocals. So that's 5.
That's awesome. And when you think about clubs and activities in the Jackson-Madison County School System, we have more than 100. So think about Beta Club, robotics, STEM, media and production. There's a little ladies club at Denmark. There's a ukulele club. Believe it or not, that's not a joke. There is a ukulele club. Imagine that, a ukulele club. So, so much opportunity within the Jackson-Madison County School System. And so, number one, Chairwoman, Vice Chairwoman Debbie Gaugh,
Yes.
we want to say thank you for your service to the district as a bus driver for so many years. We want to say thank you for your service today as a school board member. And so I think we have time for one last story. But Debbie, you know more than anyone the importance of, or the impact when the adults in the room make decisions for children. Because, you know, I was, before the show, talking about us being fellow Southside Hawks, but you kind of put an asterisk there to let me know you actually started out as a Beach Bluff Tiger.
That's correct. I went to Beach Bluff my whole first through 11th grade. I finished my 11th grade there, and then they closed the high school, and I was forced to go to Southside my senior year to graduate. So I am a Southside Hawk also. But it was heartbreaking for us because they literally split our class, our graduating class, and sent half of us to Northside and half to Southside. So people we'd gone to school with our whole life was separated. So we couldn't take that lying down. Now back then, rebellion wasn't really thought of. We got in a lot of trouble back then, school bus and everything else. But we decided that we was going to have a walkout. We was going to walk out of school after first period. Word got around to all of us, and so the bell rung. Everybody headed for the lobby, and we got to the lobby and stopped and stood there because still in our minds it's like, what they going to do to us? But eventually someone popped the door and we all went out. Teachers and the principals, they just stood there and let us go.
Let you get it out of your system.
Let us get it out of our system. And we stood out there for a while, and then they opened the doors and said, come on. Okay, enough. Let's go. So we went back in.
A fun story, but I think bringing it back today, you more than anyone realizes the impact of when the adults make decisions for students. And I'm sure that impacts the way you make decisions.
It does. That was nothing. That wasn't easy to live through, but we made it. And you're right. We need to think more about how's this affecting our kids in every situation. So that's how I try to, when I'm deciding on what to do, I always wonder how is this going to affect our kids. So and if it's going to affect them too hard, I'm not going to vote on it. So.
We certainly appreciate your advocacy for students and employees and families. School Board Vice Chairwoman Debbie Gaugh, thank you for joining us. Elisha, it was fun to visit with you again. Elisha is a student at Jackson Academic STEAM Academy. in his senior year, also a member of Madison County 4-H. Thank you again for being here.
Yes.
Thank
Glad
you,
to be
Greg.
here. Thank you, Greg.
You've been listening to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. You can check out this episode and others on our YouTube channel. Just search JMCSS. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and radio731.com. We hope you have a great Sunday, an excellent week, and we'll see you next time.